Awesome. All right, all right. Well, we will go ahead and get started. My name is Justin Stephen Ford. I will be your host. I will be your MC for about the next 45 minutes. And I am the author of the brand new diverse picture book, I See Me, which is in the background. Get your copy now. And founder of Ford Publishing House. And today we are here to do something extraordinary, to share captivating and diverse stories that not only entertain, but also inspire and really to create a children's book community and a real resource. I'm looking at my cards because this is still my first day doing this. So if you're a writer, a publisher, an educator, or just a parent who has real care for children's literature, or maybe trying to find your next book, this is a one-stop resource hub. You'll find inspiration, tips, connections with the people that are trying to make it happen. So welcome, because you are just in time for story time. Welcome to everyone who joined. Happy Sunday, happy Sunday. So we're going to go ahead and bring up the man of the hour right now. I think if you send me an invite, I don't want to say your name because, you know. Let's see, we'll wait there. There he is.
Hey, we're here. We're here. We're here.
The man of the hour.
What's up, man? You're a legend, man. I'm trying to get like you one day. That's all I'm trying to do when I grow up, man. I can be like you.
Have hair like you one day.
Hey, you see, I finally did it. You know, I grew it out. People keep making fun of the few grays that are growing in, but you know what?
That's salt and pepper looks good, man. Hey, you got the
that's what I'm doing.
Fade.
Hey, that's what it's gonna be, man. I'm trying to grow it out as much as I can while I can, because you know my dad had the whole Jefferson look going on, and so I figure I'll grow mine out while I can, you know, so that way, you know, I won't be embarrassed with that kind of haircut. Or at least I won't embarrass my kids, because I love it.
You're looking good this Sunday, man. Look at that smile. Listen, so I have something prepared. You don't know that I'm going to do this, so you just have to hang tight while I get through it. Right. Okay, I got my Just-in-Time for Storytime cards. It says, my guest today, all right, it's not only a loving father, he is a mentor, an award-winning writer, a U.S. Marine, and personal good friend in my head, and with a deep passion for working with children, fueled by an unending supply of energy and imagination. He is the author of the Amazon best-selling children's book, Crow from the Shadow, Horace the Horsefly, and Billy Dipper's Time to Shine. Welcome to Just in Time for Storytime, Olaolu Ogunyemi. Did I get it?
Hey, you got it, man. That's close enough, man. That worked.
I was nervous. I was practicing. I was like, I gotta pronounce his name properly. What's the origin of your name? Where is that from?
So my dad is from Nigeria. That's where it came from. Absolutely.
Nice. Very nice. How are you today, my friend?
I'm doing well, man. And it's a beautiful day. It stormed a little bit earlier, but now it's pretty sunny and clear, so can't complain.
Where are you located?
I'm actually in North Carolina. I'm in actually Jacksonville area, North Carolina. So we get quite a bit of rain this time of year. I think it's hurricane season. So have been on the West Coast for about, what, 7, 8 years. And so now bounced over here to the East Coast and just enjoying some of this new type weather. So
gotcha. That humidity, you gotta love it out there.
Man, it's crazy. Man. You walk outside for 3 seconds and you already got a shower. You know, it's just ridiculous. It's ridiculous.
Well, thank you so much, man, for coming. I have to let everyone know, just in time for story time. We had connected a while back, and we actually had a men's writers group that was so encouraging. And I kind of talked about it earlier. And thank you for being my second guest ever on Just in Time for Story Time. So we appreciate the support for sure. But, you know, when I started writing my first picture book, I See Me, there weren't a lot of resources. And as a self-published author, I'm really trying to figure out what to do, who to contact, how to go about those proper channels. So here we just are really trying to create a resource of how to do it, to encourage people who want to write a book, to network with others, and to find just good books to read for children that look like us and for children to learn from our experiences. So welcome to everybody in the chat. Drop if you have questions in the comments, but we're going to get started. So tell us a little bit about yourself, man.
All right. So I was born the 5th of 6 children, so a real big family. 4 boys, 2 girls. My older sisters were I think, 14 years older than me. So they feel more of a mentorship, sort of motherly role in my life. And then my brothers, they feel we're all like 2 years apart, except my younger brother who's like 4 years younger than me. So we all had that competition thing going on our entire life. My mom and dad in the home, loving. They really embraced reading and taught us how to read, and really just encouraged us to explore our imagination and just be creative. And I graduated from the Grambling State University. I know before anybody says, I get it. We played LSU in the Moneyball game yesterday.
Yeah.
Not a fan, for the record. Sorry for all of my GSU fans. I'm not a fan of those money games. But you know, it is what it is.
Disclaimer.
Yeah, it's a disclaimer. I love Grambling, and I also love LSU, for the record, and obviously love the New Orleans Saints. So shout out to all the Louisiana teams out there and those who are from the South. I saw somebody from Texas, so almost good enough, but shout out to all my Louisiana folks there. I'm just playing. It's just out of Texas. Anyway, graduated from Grambling, married my beautiful wife, Bria. And we've been married now for 11 years. I'm searching for the answer on the ceiling, as if the ceiling's going to give me an answer. 11 years sounds right, so I'll go with it. And we have 3 beautiful children. In the United States Marine Corps, I'm a major in the United States Marine Corps. And I've been in that just as long as I've been married. I got commissioned the day before my wedding. So it's been a very exciting journey, a very busy journey, but definitely enjoying it.
Congratulations, man. Congratulations on the marriage, the career, the beautiful family, all of that. So let's talk about children's books. That's kind of what we're here to talk about. So where did all of that start for you? How did the children's book process start, ideas start? Walk us through that.
Absolutely. Yes. I'll give 2 answers. So first of all, I started off, I've been writing my entire life, and I don't say that to brag, but I have a reason for saying it, so just bear with me. I won my first award in 2nd grade, and then I went through the space of where I was like, I wanted to be a rapper, and so I just started, I legitimately got on my computer probably from probably 3rd or 4th grade all the way through junior high. We had Windows XP.
Yeah.
My brothers and I would go in there, and basically, I'm not saying that I was a producer/writer, but I was a producer/writer, and that's where my writings really started. We've got to get creative.
Okay.
And it's funny because I say that because it's some sort of tongue in cheek, but I also say it as encouragement for parents. Because my son, ironically, is doing the same thing. He goes in his room and he writes raps. He's in 4th grade, and it's just funny to see because the raps are realistically. I'm sure my parents looked at me and said, "This nerd's not going to be anywhere close to a rapper." I'm more like the black country version of Malibu's Most Wanted. I'm nowhere close.
Wait, I hate to cut you off, but before we go any further, I think everybody wants to hear something. I feel like we all need a bar or 2. I'm going to go ahead and put you on the spot. I'm so excited.
Oh, man. Well, it's been a while, so let me go ahead and stretch. So, man, hold up. Here I am sitting in the chair. I just came back and I started growing my hair. It's hot in this room because I have to rap. But you know what? I'm going to keep going because I'm going to tap. Oh, that's all I got. That's all I got.
Wait, that's all I got. Sound effect for that. Where is it?
Hey.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you. I mean, if you really think about the 5 greatest rappers of all time, there's Olaolu, because I spit hot fire. That's what really what it comes down to.
Next question. It was really good. I couldn't do it. That was on the spot.
So that was garbage.
That was
great,
it's
okay, though.
Okay. So you started, I got to regroup. That was, I wasn't expecting that. So you started writing, you had those kind of life experience there. The first book, your first book was Crow from the Shadow, correct?
That's right.
How did that come about? And you're self-published, correct?
That's correct.
Self-published. So yeah, how did that come about, and were there obstacles when it came to writing your first book?
Yes, absolutely. So Crow from the Shadow, for those who don't know, it is my first book. In fact, it just won the Reader's Favorite Bronze Award for 2023, which was I was very excited about. Crow from the Shadow actually was born of a lot of experiences that I had throughout life, aside from the joking and the rapping. When I graduated college, I was married at the age of 22, and I had a 3-year-old, 3-year-old girl at that. And I grew up, as I said, with a bunch of boys in the home. And I felt like I needed to have a way to connect with my daughter. And there's also a lot of other things that transpired over my life that I felt like, okay, well, there were things that told me I need to do this, I need to do that, I need to be this person, I need to be that person. And I just felt influenced to do those kind of things. And then finally, as I grew up, I started looking back over my life. I was like, man, I chose my own path. I chose where I wanted to go, what I want to do for a living, and all those things.
Yeah.
And so now, insert Crow from the Shadow, which I actually wrote. I did voice to text. So for those authors out there wondering if you have time, if you're sitting in traffic, you have time. I sat there in the car and I just hit the record button and I just recorded. I just let it flow from the top of my head, and just as it sort of came out, I had a structure in mind, an idea, and just sort of laid it out. And the premise of Crow from the Shadow is that there's always going to be something or somebody, as I call it, the shadow, that's going to tell you that you cannot do something. You can't overcome this thing, or you can't be that. So Crow from the Shadow, although it wasn't the first book I wrote technically, it was the first one I actually published and released, because I felt like it set the foundation for the Parent-Child Connect series that says, no matter what people say or what people do, you can do whatever you put your mind to. And that's why I felt like we should start on a series. And that's how Crow from the Shadow started. To answer your second question, were there obstacles? Absolutely, because I was completely lost. I was completely lost on the writing process.
It wasn't just a super easy process.
No, not even close.
Okay.
I wish. I wish I would have taken inventory of how many hours of research I did, because I think, as you alluded to, there's not a lot of resources out there to just spell it out A to Z. Okay, do this. Once you launch the book, here's A to Z what you need to do. Here's how you publish. Here's how you do KDP. Here's how you contact librarians. Shout out to librarians. I see Three Kings Vision in the room.
3 Kings
shout out to
in
them.
the house.
Oh, yeah. How do you do all these things? And it literally just became trial and error. It's okay, I published it. Now what? Okay, I need to edit it, and all these kind of things. And I started connecting with people. Like, I connected to you. I connected to Peter Lamada. It's like an entire group of people, and we just started learning from each other. And it's like, oh man, that's really the way I grew my knowledge. But no, it was a very tedious process. There's a lot of trial and error. I have these 3 books up here. These 3 books that are actually up on display. The little known secret is they're actually my defect books. They only are good in cover only, because there's some of my mistakes, and I signed them as the original copy because I think it's funny to look back on.
Yeah.
But there's little things like the pages being, I didn't put the right amount of pages in there, so it offset, so it wasn't doing the layout that I wanted to do, and so on and so forth. So there's a lot of things that go into it. But the encouraging thing is there are people who are willing. Like, I'm one of those people who are willing. Every time somebody reaches out to me, I'm telling them, hey, let's talk about it. You let me know how I can, whatever I know, I try to give to you. So that's a lot of obstacles, a lot of discovery learning, but I believe there's a lot of people out there like me and you that are just trying to provide those resources.
Absolutely. And that's the whole point of Justin. Thank you for sharing that. That's the point of Justin Time for Storytime, is to hear stories and hear, your unique journey, but also to provide a resource for people who want to publish a book or find a book for someone that they love. By the way, that is my dummy book back there. That's just good for cover, because I had a lot of the same trial and error that you had, and I 1,000% get it. Now, I'm going to ask you a very tough question. And I asked my guests this morning, and they didn't love this question, but if you had to pick one of your favorite books, which one would it be?
One of my favorite
child.
Yeah, it is. It is. One of my favorite books. You're talking about my lineup?
Of yours, yes, that you've done.
I think if I had to pick, I would have to pick one of the 2. It'll either be Billy Dipper's Time to Shine or Crow from the Shadow.
Okay.
I would say Billy Dipper's Time to Shine took the longest to write. It actually has a storyline. It was a little bit more. But to be honest with you, I think Crow from the Shadow will have to be my favorite, because maybe it's because it's the first one I published, but it really just describes my story. I think it's just like, nobody could nobody could take anything away from you, and you can defeat the shadow. Like I think that was just my story life. Joining the Marine Corps, to be honest with you, I was told by certain people, not my family. So I see my family popping up in the chats, and I don't want to get myself in trouble. But I was told by certain people, like, the military is the last resort and all these things. And I was sitting in my room one day, just sort of watching TV, and a Marine Corps commercial came on. I think I was a sophomore in college, and I was like, you know what? I'm going to do it because I want to do it. You know, I'm going to go ahead and like pave my own pathway. I didn't know any Marines other than Major Payne. He's the only Marine I actually knew. And then I knew the recruiter who happened to be my Facebook friend, and I had literally just gotten Facebook. So it was like one of those things that, you know, I was like, oh, I remember that guy. And I said, hey, can I do computer things in the Marine Corps? And he just like, from there, just sort of the rest is history. So it definitely has been a great role, but I would say Crow from the Shadow probably because it tells my life story.
That's beautiful, man. That's beautiful. Okay, so can you tell us a little bit about Parent-Child Connect? I know that's something that's very special to you.
Absolutely. So, like I alluded to earlier, I graduated college with a 3-year-old, not knowing how to connect with her, not knowing how to really just create those memorable experiences. And that's really what I wanted to do. Because I said, I know if I were a 22-year-old looking back, or excuse me, if I were looking back at 22-year-old me now, I would say, hey man, here's all the things that you can do. You already have all the tools. There are books on the shelves. There is opportunities out there for you to sit down and connect with your child.
Absolutely.
Because what I believe is that there's all kinds of influences out there. You can sit them behind an iPad. You can sit them behind whatever you want. There's just all kinds of influences out there that will tell your children what they can and can't do. So my recommendation is either you intentionally combat those things or you intentionally collaborate with them. But there's no in between. So that's really what Parent-Child Connect was. It was providing resources so all those parents and teachers and mentors, caregivers, all of us have something that we can pick up, whether it be your book or whether it be any of 3 of my books, and just sit down with their children and create those memorable experiences and create teachable moments. Because you can rhyme. All my stories rhyme intentionally. Because I want them to sit down and like have fun reading and maybe like make up stuff. With my 4-year-old, the reason I wrote Horace the Horsefly is because we just trying to spark that imagination and get a love for reading. And then sometimes, I mean, we found ourselves making whale sounds in this story. There's no whales in here, right? It's farm animals. But it's a picture of us in the back, and we're at the beach. And she said, hey, she's like, oh, I can hear the water. I can hear the whales in the water. And to me, that's what reading is all about, is really sparking that imagination and just helping people to grow. So that's really what I really want to inspire people to do through my Parent-Child Connect series, is just sit down with children and inspire them, connect with them, instead of allowing other people and other things to do that for you.
And you have a website. That's a website, correct?
So I do. It is.
Tell them the website so they can go ahead and check that out, where to find that information.
That's right. It is parent-child-connect.com. That's all it is. If you go to that website, you'll see my blog. You'll see all the things that I post on there. I try to post a lot of resources that are free. I have actual free downloadable resources. They're guides that people can fill in. You can sit down with your children and go through. One of them is actually a supplement to Crow from the Shadow, and it helps you walk through your daily walk, your mental health journey with your children. One is actually called the 3-Day Mental Health Guide, Major Payne Edition. I'm really proud of that one because it's one of those things that just help. Again, you print it off, you sit down with your child, and you walk through it with them. And thank you, babe, for putting that in the comments. But that's the thing. Like, I was just walking through some of those things with your children and downloading a resource. I even have a pull-up program because, I love the gym. I love working out.
Because why not?
Yes. Yeah, right. Whatever you want on there, go on the website. The store is there. Get on the website, download, do whatever you want, comment, connect with me. I'm just excited to be on there.
That's awesome. What an awesome resource. Thanks for that. Now, I have a question because you've been in the newspapers, you've done media outlets and interviews. Do you have a memorable moment with writing children's books where you really saw the impact of what you were doing? I know you have your children, but was there a moment in your author career where you were like, wow, this is really making a difference?
Yeah, that moment, I get a little, my allergies act up a little bit when I talk about this moment.
It's okay.
But I had a good friend of mine who I grew up with, and he ended up, like a lot of my friends, ended up in a lot of trouble growing up. And it wasn't until I saw one of his nephews who was reading my book. Somebody sent me a video. One of my friends sent me a video of his nephew reading a book. And when I saw him and heard him reading Crow from the Shadow and saying, I can be whatever I want to be, I determine my own future and those kind of things, it really struck me because it was like he looks like him. He looks like one of my buddies who's actually unfortunately in prison right now. But he looked like him, and he actually, to me, it was almost like speaking back to that child and try to help bring them out of that. Because really, as we know, there's a lot of people that just get stuck in our communities that don't really make it out. There's a lot of young men out there that don't see positive influences. And so to have that moment, just to see him on the video, and he's reading through it, it's clicking in his head that he knows that if nobody else told him, his mom is sitting there with him saying, hey man, you can be something in your life. And it's like, I don't know if my buddies had some of those guys I grew up with, I don't know if they ever had anybody tell them that.
Right.
But it was just inspiring to me to know that somebody like these young children
right.
back in my hometown who I grew up with, and I grew up with their parents, and now going back and reading to them, and they're coming and raising their hands. Hey, can you come help me write my story? I want to be an author. Like that kind of stuff. Really like it hit home for me. And my wife, she knows that I'll talk her ear off about this kind of stuff because that is like the thing I'm passionate about. Oh yeah.
It's about. Oh yeah. It hit so hard because you think of a book. The power of a book, I think, is so underestimated. I like to view it as windows and mirrors, and I'm sure a lot of people have heard the analogy. But windows, in the sense of people can peek into an experience that's not like ours, and mirrors, seeing yourself actually in the book, and the power of seeing yourself in those places, seeing yourself as a doctor, seeing yourself, as an astronaut or whatever it is all from a book. And so thank you for what you're doing, and thank you for writing and pouring positivity into the world. That's awesome, man. But I'm not done with you just yet.
No, I got something on the windows and mirrors actually. I love that point. I love that point because I've heard that quote, and the last part that I like to think about is it's also a portal, right? Because when you think about a portal, it's like now I'm diving into my book and I'm reading this, I'm gaining something out of it, and now I'm able to go through. I know I have a way out. I know I see a guy, I flip to the back, I see about the author. I know there is a way for us to achieve the things that we want to achieve. So it's also a portal. It's like you break up the monotony no matter what's going on around you. You can close out everything and dive into a book and be able to, with your imagination, jump out of that moment that you may be in that you may not otherwise have the opportunity to come out of.
Absolutely.
So anyway, sorry.
At portal, transport me, man. Let's transport. Yeah. So what advice, a piece of advice, this is a two-pronged question. The first is, what advice would you give to aspiring authors?
Yeah. I think the first one, the advice I always give is like just do it. Like you have to get something on paper. So I usually say this fourth. I always keep these things in mind because it helps me to remember. So I'm consistent in my messaging. I always say it's DOPE, D-O-P-E. Okay. So you dream. First of all, you have the dream, understand the idea, which most of us don't have a problem doing. You can talk to anybody and say, hey, I want to do this thing. The next step is usually where we struggle. We never take time with pen and paper or with, like I said, using voice to text. We never take time to just offload the things from your mind, right? Just get it all down. And that's where we struggle because we start getting this right. We think we get writer's block and all this other stuff. It's like, don't worry about writer's block. Don't worry about structure. Get everything from your mind down on a sheet of paper or out into your phone, out into into your recorder. Whatever you have to do, get it out of your mind. Next step is plan. That's where you actually start taking that data that you put out. For me, I can show you notebooks full of just information. Then I go back and I say, okay, I scratch this part out, I move this here, and I start restructuring things. So that's the plan. And then lastly is execute. So that's where you go back and you say, okay, now I have the idea. I've offloaded everything in my mind. I've provided a little bit of structure, and now I'm going forward. I say, if I said I'm going to publish, I set a date. Now execution now takes my goal, my idea, my dream from being just a dream or idea, and actually makes it a goal because I just set a date for myself. And you set that date aloud. These are things that I encourage people to do. I'll tell my wife, I'll tell my brothers and everybody, hey, listen, I'm telling you that on this date, this book will drop, period. That's not, and there's no, do not let me go back on that. And that way they're calling you once a week. Hey man, how you doing on your book? How you doing on your book? So having that accountability part is important. So that's the advice I give. Like you have all those things, make sure you go forth and you just work hard to get those people, like have those people support you and bring you forward.
Thank you, Debbie. Dope. That's dope. Dream, offload, plan, execute. Did you make that up?
I did. It was one of those things. It was for another meeting, and it was like it came to my head, and I was like, let's just try this. I tell you, I try to keep it simple for myself. Otherwise, I will never remember these things.
And I imagine you're military kind of background probably helps you really like stick to that, because I am completely different. I'm very much a creative, you know, like yourself, but I'll have an idea and I'll be really gung-ho about an idea.
Mhm.
And then next thing I know, no creativity, no motivation. So like my first book back here, I See Me, I started it maybe in like a January, and then it didn't get published until almost a year and a half later. And it was almost a completely different book.
Yeah.
But I like how when it comes to being creative, there's no roadmap on how you get to your end destination as long as you get there and as long as you get it out. So whether it's
Right.
super structured, whether it's go with the flow, but yours is probably a little bit better than mine because you will be have productivity there. But that's a beautiful acronym. Dope.
I think,
Thank you guys for posting it.
yeah, I
For sure. Okay.
appreciate it. I think part of
That,
it too is like I think sometimes when people are creative and people are like super intelligent, like I tell my brother this, Josh, the illustrator, and he's a creative design. So that just tells you about him. He has I mean, he can take stuff and he has such an eye for it that it
mhm,
gets, it's almost like, man, I can't believe he's the guy, for example, he's
mhm.
the guy that sits there with the peanut butter and makes sure he spreads it all the way to the end of his bread. Whereas for me, I'm like, okay, it's peanut butter jelly. Done, right?
Right.
And that's the problem with creators, right? And sometimes
Right.
creators, they want this perfect product, and
Yes.
I'm like, well, you know what? I'm not gonna sit
Yes.
back and wait for a perfect
Yes.
product only because I know there's somebody else that needs this
Yes.
thing. So somebody would take my message on this sticky note, right?
Mhm,
If I gave it to them
mhm.
because they just need encouragement.
Yes.
So if I'm waiting trying to make this perfect and go print it on gold parchment paper, they will
Mhm,
never get the thing that I'm supposed to give to them. So
mhm.
anyway, back
What?
over to you. Sorry, man. I'm getting too excited.
No,
I'll let you do it.
I love it, man. I love it. And that's so true. I mean, that is so true because if you're searching for perfection, it's never going to be
That's
there.
right.
But just getting it out. Someone said, my friend Frank said, that's a real thing. Woo, get it out. I
Yeah.
agree 1,000%. So that's the advice you give to aspiring authors. What advice for any of our young viewers? Hey, Sisters Book Corner, they're coming on the show. What advice would you give to a young person in general? What advice can you give to younger people?
Yeah, I would say, first of all, understand the value you bring to others. I think I
Mhm.
like to overemphasize that. You bring value to the world. You have a purpose for being here.
Yeah.
That's the first and foremost thing I tell anybody. Because you're going to go through a time like I went through that time because I was overweight as a child,
Same,
and so I went through that
same.
phase. Yeah, I went through that phase of being made fun of. You know, oh, your name in Louisiana, right? My name was Olaolu,
Mhm,
and you know, obviously that's not the normal name in that area.
mhm,
So get made fun of for that. Get made fun
mhm,
of for my head. Like, there's a
mhm,
lot of things you get made fun of, and sometimes you start to misunderstand or you miss the mark on the things
mhm.
that you know are important. And so what I always try to do is the first thing, encourage young people and never forget that you bring value to this earth and you are worth it. Like you are worth whatever, like, and whatever you put your
Yeah.
mind to, you can do. So that's
Mhm,
the first thing. And the second thing I tell them is like, set a target, like set your target high, say that what you want to do.
mhm.
I know that there used to be this big propensity to say, oh, well, you know, if you want to be in the NBA, oh, well, only 1% of people make it to the NBA. So have a plan B, have a plan C. You're probably not going to make it. Well, I don't say that. I tell my son, I was like, hey, man, if you tell me you want to be an astronaut and you want to
Yeah.
be an astronaut playing in the NFL and hey, listen, go
Yeah.
for it. Go try it,
Yes.
right? Because you
Yes.
only get one life. You only get one chance to live. Go for it. And you know what?
Mhm.
If it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out. But guess what? You had the education. You went through you went through everything you need to do to learn those lessons to grow and develop. So those are the things. I just tell them, you know, just shoot for the stars, man. Be what you want to be and chase after it with aggression. Like go forth, like
Yeah.
chase after it and do your thing.
Yeah. Man, that is the perfect way to end the show. That is so well. I feel encouraged. I feel uplifted, and thank you so much for all you do, and thank you so much for the positivity you're pumping back into the world. It's needed. Frank said, "Yes, you have the capacity to do anything," and
Right.
it's amazing the power of words. Like we said, the power of a book, the power of words, and the simple messaging of do it. You can do it. You should be here. You deserve this. Those positive affirmations are just, they can change again the course of someone's life. Do you have any upcoming projects, any more books that we can look forward to, and where can people find you?
Oh, absolutely. So I actually have a book that's, here I am. I'm about to go back on my own advice. I have a
Yeah.
book that's been pending. It's actually a children's book. It's for that 2 to 5 age range. It's called Jeff the Jazzy Jackal. And at some point, I'm going to release that thing. I'm going to go ahead and set a date on the calendar, like I
Yes.
said, and go ahead and release it because I think it's good for those younger readers that enjoy it. Really, my next few months is going to be very busy. Right now, because obviously, as I said, I'm active duty military, so a lot of the focus that I have is right now day to day is getting ready to support all those things that go on in the military. So the next few months to a year are going to be extremely busy time. But from a professional, personal standpoint, we definitely will be working on talking to more people, getting out and writing more articles. I like publishing articles. I have a couple. One coming out in February that's going to be a military type article. I almost said it. I got to be careful. And then the others are just working with other local media to get out and just read to children and enjoy those engaging moments.
And has that been, this is sidebar, I know I said I was going to let you go, but how has that been beneficial for you? I just had a thought when it comes to promotion of your book. How have you gone about promoting yourself, essentially, because it's your brand?
Absolutely. So I think the biggest thing is word of mouth. And people told me, and I had to be corrected by somebody, actually just recently in the last few months. They were like, "You're an author?" People at work. And I was like, "Yeah, I don't want people to think that I'm soliciting or anything like that." And they're like, "Dude, that is probably the most inspiring thing that you could have told me." And not to mention, I could just Google your name and it's going to come up. So first of all, stop putting all these blockages, these obstacles in your own way. That was a message to myself. Put all these obstacles in your own way from actually promoting yourself and talking about what you do because it's important. And then secondly, going to schools and actually sitting down. And I personally enjoy the engagements, but obviously every time you read to a school, you have an opportunity for the teachers and the staff to purchase your books, especially if they purchase them for the classroom. It's better if they purchase them for the classroom, then you go to engage. Even better if you can go back and make it a regular thing, because I think that's the most important part. And then the other part is again being active. Or like I said, I have a blog, and I think it's very important to be active and constantly pushing some kind of material out. I'm not a person that says they give everything away for free, because you obviously have to make money somehow, otherwise it's just a hobby. But I think there are some things exactly. I think you can search for needs and meet those needs, and not everything has to be a paid thing. So sometimes there have been times I've done book giveaways, and from those book giveaways, there have been so many blessings, and people bulk order for me from the giveaways. And it's those kind of things that would happen. And then the last thing is when I went home for my last, I think it was my last time. Actually, it wasn't my last time, but I went home last October from one of the read alouds at the library, and I was just blessed because this lady who works with Louisiana School for the Blind actually bought my books in bulk and donated some to the library. And what was more inspiring is one of my buddies who's back home took a picture of this kid that's sitting there reading the book in Braille, Horsefly, and it's just like, it's mind-blowing that she bought my books, converted them to Braille, and then put them into the library. So I think that's really what it is. It's getting out, meeting people, networking, understanding what needs are in the community. I'd never thought about, if you haven't thought about that, then you start thinking about, hey, there are people, there are children that don't have, they're not able to read your books in the way that they're printed, right? So starting to connect with those organizations that make it more accessible to everybody. I think those are ways that you can get out in front of people.
Such a great resource, great ideas. I'm taking notes myself, like on man, this is just so good. We could talk all day. Will you come back to Just in Time for Storytime? Will you please come back?
I'll come back whenever you want, brother.
Awesome, man. Awesome, man. We got to talk more offline because I'm going to give you that date for the release of your next book. I'll give that to you. But
yes, sir. You got to give it to me.
Community, because this is a resource, if you need help, man, I got your back. You let me know what you need and I'm here for you. Okay?
For sure. Same.
Thanks for coming, man.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much. I'm honored to be a part, man. And your second guest, hey, man, I'm really honored. I was like, man, that's a beast. I really appreciate it. You were one of the first
people I thought of. I said, I gotta get him on the show.
I love it, man. Like, sure. I definitely appreciate it.
I'm honored. I'm blessed, man. Well, have a great rest of your Sunday, and we will talk very soon.
Yes, sir. You have a great day.
Take care, my man.
You too.
And that's what it's all about encouraging, about inspiring, about being a resource, about learning. I just learned so much from that. So I hope that you guys did too. But we'll be here live streaming every Sunday with brand new guests, authors, writers, publishing houses, creatives, talking about the children's book world. This is a children's book resource group. And we're here just to have a good time along the way. So if you'd like to be a guest, drop your comments. If you have some words that you'd like to say, shoot them my way. But this has been Just in Time for Storytime, and we'll see you next time. Take care, guys.